happier.com, and I'm the organizer of the happiness meetup groups in Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., and Portland, Oregon.
Okay, tell me how did you find out about this website?
Well, I've been working with some of the leading experts and authors who study the science of happiness for a number of years, and I talked to somebody about building a website so people could come together and learn about happiness and meet these experts online and then actually become happier. And that's why we built happier.com. As a result of that, we started to hear about the interest people had in getting together in person. So we put together a group in Philadelphia, and as that group started to grow, I found out that there were happiness clubs all over the country that had been formed by a lot of different people.
Tell me a little bit about this group. I mean, it's just a bunch of happy people sitting around smiling all day. I mean, what exactly is this group about?
Well, Happier DC is a group of people who we call happiness enthusiasts. Some of these people are practitioners. They're coaches or therapists or consultants who practice positive psychology. They use the science of happiness in their everyday lives as professionals. Others are researchers or authors who have been studying the science of happiness. One of the members of Happier DC is a prominent professor at George Mason University. Other people are enthusiasts. We had one couple that came out, it took a 2-hour train ride to get together to meet other people like them who enjoyed learning about the science of happiness. A lot of the group members have come because they're users of happier.com. These are people who were reading an article online about the science of happiness or about one of our authors, and they found happier.com and they joined the site. And then they saw an opportunity to meet other users and the experts in their hometown, and that's how we got a lot of our users.
You talk about the science of happiness. What exactly is the science of happiness?
Well, the science of happiness is the rigorous scientific study of what makes people happy. So psychology for years measured depression and anxiety. Scientists used their tools and the scientific method to determine what was wrong with life and how to measure it and quantify it. About 10 years ago, some of the leading psychologists got together and said, let's measure what goes right. Let's measure what makes life worth living. And that's positive psychology. That's the science of happiness.
So at your groups, do you have people that have just come to the meeting because they've been sad and they just want to change in their lives? Like they are finally now saying, I want to be happy?
Yeah, we've had people come to meetings for a lot of reasons. One woman sat down and told another group member at the first meeting of happierphilly.com, she said to one of the members in the group, I've always been sad, I've always struggled with depression and anxiety, and I want to meet people who are happy. I want to meet people who have it figured out. But other people, they come to the meeting because they want to learn. It's not about them improving themselves, it's about learning from the experts. And then, of course, we have attendees who are practitioners. These are coaches or consultants who practice positive psychology, and they want to meet other people like them. And they want to meet the experts. They want to meet the authors of the books and the people who do the research behind the science of happiness.
So you actually think that there's a way to learn how to be happy instead of just being either you're happy or you're not?
Yeah, that's really what the big development's been in the last 10 years. It's been that scientists have found that you can measure happiness, and in fact you can track how you do over time. You can measure your happiness every day and look at how it improves. But most importantly, you can learn to be happier. Now for some people, maybe they can only learn to be 25% happier. Maybe they're pretty much set. Other people can really improve a lot. And the science of happiness and learning to be happier is about getting from kind of a +2 to a +5. It's really about learning to improve your life using the tools of positive psychology.
And how can you learn? Like, I mean, just give me an example. What can you do to make yourself happier?
Well, one of the things you can do to make yourself happier is you can go to happier.com, and for free you can sign up and you can take a test and you can learn about what your strengths are and what you do well. And the research shows that knowing what your strengths are by taking a strengths test on happier.com will actually help you better confront challenges in life, and it'll help you be happier. Now some people, that's plenty for them, or they watch a video, or they read the blog, or they get updates from some of our experts. Others want more, and that's why we've got people that actually subscribe to happiness boosting tools on happier.com. They sign in every day and they get advice from experts on what to do that day to make them happier. For example, let's say you knew that you were really angry at a friend, that you had been holding a grudge, and you didn't need any expert to tell you, you knew that grudge was bringing you down. We have a lot of users who wake up and they say, I want to let go of a grudge, and they actually sign on to happier.com and they go through our Let Go of Grudges exercise. And that exercise walks you through the steps that have been scientifically proven to help you let go of that grudge and feel happier.
And this actually worked. Like, you have people who say, I did this and I'm happier.
Yeah, it's one of the best things about working for happier.com is the emails we get and the phone calls. We have people say this was life-changing. We've got people that say thank you so much. My favorite email came from a woman in Idaho, and she said, this is just what I've been looking for.
So what do you say to people, to the skeptics out there who say that, I mean honestly, like, times are tough for people. People are being laid off. People don't have the money that they used to, and they can't do a lot of the things that they used to be able to do. So maybe right now in this time, this is kind of like like a crutch for them. I mean,
right.
like, is it just because people are doing so bad now that to have anything like this is going to make them happier?
We've had people say that talking about happiness is a luxury when you don't have health care or you're getting laid off. We're in a war. The reality is that people have wanted to be happier for thousands of years. This isn't some new quest or new desire people have had. But there's now tools out there that help you become happier at an even lower cost than before. You don't need to pay hundreds of dollars an hour to see a psychologist or a psychiatrist, and you don't need to be on medication. So I think that it's actually great. It's a fantastic opportunity now for someone to become happier and to put these tools to use for their everyday life. And even with everything that's going wrong in the world today, and even with the fact that homes today are twice the size they were 50 years ago, more people are going to college, we've got more stress. I mean, we're more concerned than ever before about objects and possessions and earning things. And people are unhappier than they have ever been. So that's why we built happier.com, and that's why we formed Happier Philly and Happier DC and Happier Portland. It was to give people the tools that we know will work to make them happier.
How many clubs and members you guys have? I know that people don't pay a fee, but
right.
how many members and how many clubs you guys have?
There are happiness clubs all over the world. I know that there's a number in Connecticut. There's some in California. There's a fantastic group out of New York City. Happier.com has sponsored 3 happiness clubs. We've got one in Philadelphia, we've got one in Washington, D.C., and we've got one in Portland, Oregon, but there are more starting up. We just had a user of Happier.com email us last week and say, I'm in London, and I can't make the Philadelphia meetings, but I'd like to start something here.
Do you think that you are getting more members now because of how things are in the world right now?
One of the things that we've learned as we built up Happier.com is there are more people unhappy every month than there were the month before. We can see it in the numbers. Before we even launched Happier.com, we got over 40,000 users. These are people who had been clicking on ads that said stop worrying or stop being so anxious or you can be happier. And the reality is there are more unhappy people now than there were just a few months beforehand.
And what do you say to people who think that this is just, a gimmick?
The research behind the science of happiness is solid. If what you care about is physical health, then it's pretty interesting to learn that optimists, happy people, have 1/4 the rate of death from heart disease that pessimists do. If what you care about is academic performance, it's interesting to learn that optimistic kids, that happy kids, perform better in the classroom and have less detention and behavior problems. And if what you care about is emotions and how you feel every day, then it makes sense that being happier and having less negative emotions is going to be something very real and very significant. There are always going to be pessimists out there. When I introduce myself and I say, I started happier.com, some people roll their eyes. But more often than not, people look at you and they say, really? What's happier.com? Tell me about it.